YouTube. What's going on, everyone? Uh, Gosh, not even joking on that one. We've tried our best this afternoon to go live on Instagram, but we couldn't get audio going, so we've popped over to YouTube. If
Yeah.
you are floating around, please jump on, come and say hi. It is Are cryptids actually living dinosaurs? Are living dinosaurs actually cryptids? I think it's both the same way. So we've already had probably a half-hour discussion on this with no audio going on. So now we're going to have the other half an hour on YouTube. Jeepers, Juliet. Jeepers. Yeah, we've got some love hearts. Freaking love you
Yeah,
guys.
with some love hearts. Thanks, guys, for pulling us over. Far out. Okay.
It's yeah, look, yay audio, yay us. Oh, what's up, spirit animal? It's nice to see you. All the way from New Zealand and Australia. AM, yay. Okay, we're here.
Oh, thank God. What a mission.
And I tell you what, so this is our very first live of 2026, and God knows it has to be a challenge, right? Why not?
Yeah. My favorite Kiwi. Oh, look at
that. I was talking to my little boy says to me the other day, Mummy, a unicorn is a cryptid, right? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Love you right now, 5 years old. And he goes, and Mummy, a unicorn is the animal, the country's animal for Scotland, right? National animal. And I said, yeah, you're right. And he goes, and ours is a kiwi. And I went, yeah. And he goes, well, the unicorn's got like a stabby thing so he can stab people when they annoy him. What's the kiwi got? And I was like,
Attitude.
Giant long beak and no wings. Oh my Lord. Thank you, Emmy. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it so much, girl. Oh my gosh.
As cute as people, as cute as people think Kiwis are, they're not cute. They are like grumpy, like stabby, scratchy little birds.
They really are. No, they're not nice. They're fluffy and bloody cute, but they're really grumpy. And also, like when you hear a kiwi running around in the wild, it sounds like there's a little girl screaming, and it's horrendous. It's really scary and horrible, and it's not a nice sound. At least unicorns poop, raspberries or rainbows or fuck whatever.
With a gator.
Do you know, once I met an alligator in a bathtub in central London, in like downstairs in a basement, and it was in a bathtub, and I was like, oh my God, that's not where I think it lives. That's how I feel about
raccoons, evil creatures. Yeah.
Well, there's a huge conspiracy about raccoons. We're not talking about raccoons today, but there is a big conspiracy about raccoons.
Yeah. It's like pandas. They weren't actually here 100 years ago. So, and they're all black and white animals. What's going on there? Black and white. Well, they're kind of grayish, but
it's very
anyway. That's a whole other story. That one.
But also, I feel like there's a massive conspiracy wrapped around dinosaurs, right? We know that there is, actually, full stop. Like, I don't think that's debatable. There is a huge conspiracy wrapped around the timelines, the testing, the bones that they've found, the structures that they've created from said bones, and the narrative that's 100%, the narrative that's spun to us from very young age, right? From when you go to school, you're told that these dinosaurs walked millions and millions of years ago, and you're talking hundreds of millions of years ago. And we were having this conversation yesterday, right, when we were talking about this topic and research and bits and pieces, and we were like, we kind of agree with the fact that there's these different time areas, like the Cretaceous period, like those sort of periods within the the rock forms that you can see from geology and that sort of stuff. However, we don't quite agree with the whole million. There's too many zeros on that
Yeah.
timeline. And
Yeah.
and all we have to do is actually look at indigenous cultures, for example, the Cambodian culture in Angkor Wat, which is in Cambodia, and they have a carved door frame with a cow and a bird and a lizard and a stegosaurus. And see, this causes major issues. If there wasn't a stegosaurus walking around 1,000 years ago when this structure was built, how the hell did they depict it? So that's kind of one of the things I guess that's really spurred us on to doing another talk on living dinosaurs and cryptids, especially throughout the South Pacific. So we've done a little bit of focus point throughout the South Pacific today, which I find interesting.
My spirit animal has asked, "What's our favorite animals?" I like. I can't. I'm a wolf, and I like kelpie, which are the spiritual water horses that kill people. So that's my. It's my jam. I love kelpies. I love horses, wild horses, horses and wolves. Can't help it.
Mm. I like I love like giant eagles. Like in America, there's that giant eagle, right? And it just sits there and it's like, "Haha, I'm gonna eat you." Like freak me the hell out, right? Giant eagles. And I feel like maybe they're kind of semi-prehistoric. And that's maybe why I like them. And maybe I was a reptilian in my former life. Sure.
Oh God.
It's so squishy.
Big teeth. Yeah,
Yeah, really
no.
cool.
See, our possums don't look like that. Our possums are a lot smaller
Um,
and cuter looking. Those opossums are pretty gnarly
yeah.
looking.
And also we shoot them, so
Yeah. Not in Australia. Pest in New Zealand, Australia, they're protected. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Can we
It's
go
fun.
back a step? Spirit Animal says we found a new species of Spinosaurus. Yeah, dude. Yes. And that was the other thing that really kind of spurred us on to doing this episode because we were like, there are a lot of like recent discoveries throughout the end of kind of 2025 and 2026 of these amazing paleontology fossilized discoveries of eggs and different like full skeleton dinosaurs, which is really, really interesting. My question is the timeline though. That's the only major concern that I have around it. Yes. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Distraction, distraction, eh? And we were comparing the dinosaur conversation or the system, I guess, to NASA, right? And the space conversation because it's so similar. It's like, oh, look, we've got to keep the system
Yeah.
continuously going because we must keep the funding going and the money coming in and all that sort of stuff. And we're not saying that we don't agree with the discoveries. We're saying that the timeline we believe is incorrect around it. And we believe, and I
Yeah.
know Juliet's probably on board with me on this one, there are still living dinosaur species around the world globally, um, living today in somebody's backyard potentially. I'm just reading the comments. Oh, Jules, you are freezing on my end. I hope it's not. I hope I'm not freezing and Jules not freezing. Maybe it's just freezing to me. That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So long as we're all good. Okay, so um yeah, Jules is a little bit frozen, but she's coming back. So I want to talk about a book that I found at the start of researching living dinosaurs and cryptids in the South Pacific. So while Juliet is in frozen land, I'm going to talk to you about this book that I found. And I was saying over on Instagram when we first started that I really truly believe that you have to go further back in documentation and that sort of stuff to find the really good stuff, because these days you can't trust what's coming out on the internet, but you can more than likely trust books that were written 50 odd years ago, pictures that were taken, videos, that sort of stuff. It's quite difficult to adjust those and not be able to see the adjustments on those. So one of the books that I found that I stumbled upon is a book called On the Track of Unknown Animals. And it was originally published in French in 1955. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. It was published by a dude called Mr. Bernard Heuvelmans, and we're going to call him Bernie for short. For sure, he'd be rolling in his grave, go, call me my real name. But Bernard was born in 1916 in France, and he was known as the Sherlock Holmes of zoology. So, really well known dude. Um, like to, just give people shortened names. He was raised in Belgium and he went on to earn a doctorate in zoology at the Free University of Brussels. So, very well educated man. He studied under a guy called Sergei Frenkov. Fretchkov, I beg your pardon, who supported the theory of initial bipedalism, which is essentially one of the theories around evolution, i.e., hominins came down from the trees, out of the branches, and they adapted to life on the savannah by walking upright on 2 feet, right? This was apparently between 5 to 7 million years ago. And I think that's part of where the conversation and the lies of the conversation start, as far as I'm concerned. Jules, maybe reset yourself, unless it's me. Can somebody comment? Oh, Jules is gone. We'll see if she can get back in here. I hope so. Um, so I'm going to keep going and hopefully Jules will pop back in. Like I said, I'm in New Zealand. We've got terrible, terrible weather. Juliet's got terrible internet over in Australia. So we apologise for the technical difficulties. Oh, internet's gone down. Oh, goods, babes. If you can jump back on via your data, please do. And I'll just read through this little bit here. So during World War II, his life took a dramatic turn. He escaped from a Nazi prison camp 4 times and later moved to Paris and started working as a jazz singer, which is pretty awesome. His interest of unknown animals grew when he actually read an article called "There Could Be Dinosaurs" with by Mr. Ivan T. Sanderson. So he read this article and went, "Oh my gosh, there actually could be dinosaurs." Basically, that spurred him on that potentially dinosaurs still could exist in remote parts of the world. And this was back in the 1930s. So he put out this book and it was remastered. Hopefully, she'll get her butt back in here at some point. Oh, Juliet. Oh, my Juliet. So they put this book out. It's an amazing book. Again, it's called On the Track of Unknown Animals. And I really encourage everyone to go and look for some of these older books, because you never know what you're going to find. You're always going to find some really interesting information. And that's kind of where I started my research from. And I know just before we went live, Juliet was finding some amazing research on biblical context around dinosaurs, dragons, all of that sort of stuff throughout history, and including in Egypt, where she actually took a photograph of what we believe to be a plesiosaurus and what the tour guide called a goose. Um, So yeah, Jules, just take your time, see if you can get back on. Otherwise, I'll run it for another 10 minutes or so and drop some info and then we'll wrap it up. Um, Emmy says, oh, sorry, let's just go back up into the comments real quick. Um, 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 um. Kelsey or Mishaya is saying, let it go, Juliet, singing the Frozen song to you. The weather doesn't bother you anyway. Ha ha ha, funny girl. Spirit Animal says, I'd say the gator, it something it's something sharks have been there longer than trees. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, sharks have been here, prehistoric sharks, absolutely, and they just found recently a kind of a different subspecies of what they believe the Greenland shark is in the Tongan Trench down here in the South Pacific, and they believe it's close to 300 years old or something around that. So yeah, man, for real, real. Emmy says, I was just listening to someone talking about how they think whales are dinosaurs that went from land to sea. So kind of the opposite of yours, Lisa. Oh, wow, interesting. Well, there are actually, like if you look at Darwin's theory of evolution, the iguanas went from sea to land, right? They all brought themselves back up to land. And so, or maybe it was the other way around, land to sea. I think it was land to sea, and they grew our webbed feet. So yeah, the aquatic ape theory, absolutely. So I don't know how much I believe in the theory of evolution. Essentially, I believe you have to potentially take things away. You cannot evolve and add DNA in. You have to devolve and take things away. So I'm not sure. Yeah, theories of evolution, especially if you come from a religious perspective, throws everything out the window. But I tell you what, I was talking to my dad about he's a Christian, so I was talking to him about the Bible, and he was saying that if Noah's Ark, the story of Noah and that sort of stuff was correct, then they must have had Bigfoot on there. They must have had Bigfoot on the ark. So let that one sink in for a second. If everything was destroyed by the floods, and floods are talked about in every single um, culture or many, many cultures around the world, the same sort of flood is talked about. So then there must have been what we see today, Bigfoot and these other types of creatures that survived the flood and ice age and everything else. Anyway, off topic. Love it. So, Jules, if you can get your butt back in here, please do. There was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and I know Jules had some really interesting information on things like flying birds, cryptids, T-Rex types of cryptids, and that sort of stuff. But I love the idea of flying cryptids. I love the idea of giant eagles, that sort of stuff. And so, one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about was we have we have a really cool cryptozoologist. I've never met Carl, but I respect his work. I think he's done a lot of work. His name's Carl Schuker, and if you don't know his work, you should go look him up. K for Carl, and then Shuker, and he works in all things. He works in all things cryptozoology, and one of the articles I really liked that he wrote was an article about flying dinosaurs globally. And so I was kind of like, okay, let's just drop a couple of ideas around these potential uh, living dinosaurs that are seen as cryptids. And remembering, like for us at CWS, at Cryptid Women's Society, we really like to credit the guardians of the land, of the space that they live in, and that's the Indigenous people. Um, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments at the same time. And so we really like to showcase their guardianship, who they are, what they do, and how they protect the land and that sort of stuff. Um, Jules, why don't you just keep commenting, okay? Tell us some stuff. Drop a little bit of some few gems in there, babe. What if I send you a link back through? If I send you a link, do you think you can get in there? Maybe, baby. Copy a link. Hang on. And I'm back. So we're still going. I just sent the link back to Juliet to see if she can get in here. So there's a whole heap of different flying cryptids around. And I just wanted to drop a couple of names so that you can go and do a little bit of research and see that this, in fact, is a global phenomenon of these cryptids in quotation marks and living dinosaurs in quotation marks. And exactly what Juliet said, dragons as well. And are they all the same creatures with different names throughout the times? Potentially. So the first one is an African one in the Congamato. It's a petrosaur-like cryptid. Um, yeah. I don't know. She's able to message on here, so I'm hoping that she might be able to jump back in potentially. I'll keep trying a little bit. So, the location of the Congamato is in the marshes in western Zambia. Also, Zimbabwe, Angola, and near Mount Kilimanjaro. One of the earliest documentations of this flying petrosaur is in 1923, and it was recorded by a guy called Frank H. Milland and it's written in Witchbound Africa, which is a book. Juliet, can you say happiness in a bag? It's lyrics from. Stop it. So the description is it's reddish. It's got a lizard-like body, bat-like wings, 1 to 2 meter wingspan. So in fact, one of the smaller versions. It's got a long beak with teeth. It's got no feathers. It's got bare skin. So very much kind of that leathery bat wing type of creature. Some of the accounts of this one is 1920s, a native explorer enters a swamp, returns severely injured with a chest wound. And identifies the creature as a pterodactyl when shown images. So very much what a pterodactyl looks like. In the 1950s, in around the same sort of area, in a lake in Zambia, another injured witness transported to hospital draws the creature, which literally looks like a pterodactyl as well, the same sort of silhouette. There was also a report in the 1940s by Captain Charles R.S. Pittman, who reports a similar creature in Angola. And there's ongoing reports throughout that area of like this creature with a really long beak. And locals have been identifying it as a petrosaur. So very kind of long-winded, right? The timeline throughout the 1900s and obviously through colonialization and that sort of stuff, these accounts become more available to everyone. There's reports of things that they call flying dragons, which I find really interesting. And as Juliet was talking about, dragons are maybe just another word for these flying cryptids. I've got a Texas sighting. Is there anyone here that's from Texas? Texas. I know that we've got a couple of CWS members from Texas. Ah, Spirit Animal. Are you from Texas? Because you said you were down south. Are you in Texas? The Texas police. There was a case, James Thompson sighting in September of 1983. The location was Highway 100 between Raymondville and Brownsville in Texas. Oh, it's from Georgia. You're from Georgia, ma'am. Is that a good Texan? Is that a good Georgian accent? I don't know. And wait, where is Georgia in comparison to Texas? There, Texas, Georgia. I'm not sure. He was an ambulance technician. And basically, he said that the creature flew across the road about 50 meters ahead of him. The wingspan was like 2 meters wide. The length was about 2 to 3 meters long. It had a long tail with a fin. It had a hump on its head, had a throat pouch, and it was blackish grayish with no feathers, which is crazy. Like, and that was in the 80s, 1983, that was recorded. Obviously, some form of a petrosaur or a pterodactyl, but can there still be pterodactyls flying around? I mean, that would mean that there has to be some form of a breeding population and some form of um, like location that they can live in, right? I just think that's crazy. Case number 2 is in Houston in the 1980s. Um, it was recorded by a guy called Richard Guzman and his friend. There was a flying creature that they spotted about 40 meters away from them, 16 meters above them, so not that far away. It had a long tail, had a head crest, and the sketch resembles a petrosaur. So again, very, very similar in stature and description. Let's read these comments really, really quickly. Um, 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 um. I haven't read it, but it's on my list, A Guide to Sky Monsters by T.S. Mart and Mel Carberry. That sounds interesting. Thank you. Spirit Animal says, I'm right above Florida. I am East Coast, ma'am. Ah, I know that place. Oh, Emmy says Texas is 935 miles away-ish. It's not far, is it? I don't know. I'm at the arse end of the world, team. I don't know. I'm not sure. And case number 3 is in San Antonio, and this was recorded on the 24th of February in 1976, southwest of San Antonio, Texas. So again, down there, 3 school teachers actually had an encounter with a giant bat-like, bird-like creature that had a wingspan estimated 5 to 6 meters, which is huge. That is a big step up from 2 meters or 3 meters. Had grayish skin, bat like wings, and later was identified as a potential uh, pterodactyl as well. So pretty crazy. Like, and then you've got the tombstone monster as well, which was recorded in Arizona in 1890. Claimed the wingspan of 50 meters. Later it was disputed in Faircool because that seems rather huge. But a giant winged creature on the ground. It was shot with rifles, and apparently it has been exaggerated a little bit. But the revised size looks between 6 meters to 9 meters long, so still pretty massive. And it just, we go on to talk about all of these other sightings throughout Mexico, South America, obviously in the Amazon as well, where these places, these locations could quite easily house these flying cryptids. Obviously, we have flying cryptid sightings in New Zealand as well. So come on down south, down to my end and Juliet's end of the world. There was a woman called Phyllis who had an encounter in a place called Whangarei, which is northland of New Zealand. She saw a flying creature which she believed resembled a pterodactyl. It had blue underwings and a red body. And so the blue underwings actually has some form of connection to these flying cryptids throughout Indonesia and PNG as well. She said it had undulating flight, and it's not matching any known New Zealand species. Yeah, absolutely. And if you go back through New Zealand history, through the Māori culture, there are stories of these giant bat pterodactyl birds attacking warriors. So they would live in the caves, and then the warriors would go hunting, and these giant bird pterodactyl creatures in New Zealand would attack the Māori warriors. So it's pretty pretty crazy. Love you too, spirit animal. Thanks, man. Web of Mysteries. Love your work, brother. You are so much fun. I love having you over here. Thanks for coming and joining in, man. You're the best. Uh, and obviously one of the most I guess well documented and well known flying cryptid is in Papua New Guinea. And there are two versions of that, the Ropin and the Dua. And I mean, we were talking about this earlier, there's 880 different languages just in Papua New Guinea itself. And so there'll be lots of different versions, um, linguistically speaking, like the names of these creatures will be different all the way through. So but we do know that the Ropin and the Dua have been well documented by modern explorers, cryptozoologists, and people that have been there from different countries, but also by the locals. The locals are very aware of these creatures, these flying creatures, and they know all about them, and they have supernatural wraparounds as well, of course. So, location of the Ropin are mostly around Umboy Island and some of the other smaller islands around PNG. They're said to be a 1 to 2 meter wingspan, a long beak with teeth, the tail with a diamond shaped fin at the end, and their cave dwelling. And one of the things about a ropin is it has some form of a luminous tail and potentially a luminous underbelly. And the same goes for the dua, which is a larger luminous form of the ropin, in that it has a blue luminous light. And so people will see these lights flying around and assume that that must be a ropin or a dua, which literally look like a petrosaur. If you Google search a ropin, then you will see pictures and drawings and things like that. They're pretty amazing as far as what has been documented. And the most recent sighting, I believe, of the ropin that I've found is 2019, where a group of Umboy Islanders saw two of them flying around very clearly. And so the likes of Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, around those sort of areas, Solomon Islands, they've been really undiscovered, and they could very easily still be living there. Emmy says, Lisa, do you have a favorite or most likely modern dinosaur or creature of flight you think may be like your top pick? To be honest, I think a pterodactyl. And I know that's crazy, right? Like, how on earth is a petrosaur or a pterodactyl still flying around? I truly believe that that has one of the um, one of the most credible opportunities to still be around, because number one, they live in caves, they're cave dwelling. There is a lot of caving systems, there's a lot of jungles, there's a lot of mountainous ranges that have never had humans step foot in there. And they don't necessarily need to be flying for miles and miles of distance. They could be very much kind of kept to their own space. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Papua New Guinea, absolutely. They've had sightings as recent as 2019 and possibly more recent than that. We just don't know about it. There's the Ahul bat, which is said to exist in Indonesia. And there's definitely been, recent sightings from the last probably 10 years of the Ahul bat being almost the same sort of size as what's been seen in Papua New Guinea. And, like we were talking about this the other day, Juliet and I, around kind of the credibility around these sightings. And I was like, if there's going to be anything found around that, it's going to be in some form of a jungle space, the Amazon, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, something that's really dense, where you're not going to be able to see things running around because the canopy is so dense and people haven't been in there. And there is a huge array of, prey to eat, lots of food, there's water, there's safety, and there's housing. So that's kind of my view on it. I We've got like information around and sightings around things like T-Rexes, the Burrinjaw, which is northern Australia, the Murray Lake monster, which is southern Papua New Guinea, and there used to be an earth bridge between the two. Very, very similar creature. Um, very well documented, a lot of sightings, and obviously the sizes that are reported are, differing because people see things in a different light, essentially, and your memory is always a little bit, what you experience is different than the other one. But I don't know if these big T-Rexes could be around, but there's a lot of sightings of these little kind of almost velociraptors, little mini T-Rexes. So potentially there's these type of creatures, dinosaurs, living dinosaurs still running around as well. Because how would you find them? Do you know? How would you find them in this dense jungle area? You just simply couldn't. Yeah, there are 100% tons of places large creatures could hide. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. The ropin is a good example of a pterodactyl that could still be around. Yeah, I agree with you. I think and there's been like, oh my gosh, hundreds and hundreds of sightings in America as well. And we have to remember that America has got so many hidden spaces there, with not a huge, amount of population to cover that land. And the same with Australia. It's pretty crazy, except Australia doesn't have a lot of flying cryptids. There is definitely things on the land there that are hiding in the caving systems and that sort of stuff. Um, Kelsey says, I like pterodons and eagles and the falcon and the albatross too. Yeah. Oh my God. The albatross is amazing, right? How giant is that guy? We can barely find things we know exist. Thank you. That is it, right? And that is why cryptozoology exists, because we know that there are things, there are creatures, and there are oral conversations that point directly to these creatures existing. And like it's the same with giant humans. There are so many stories about giant humans. There are bones that have been found. We're inundated with evidence, and yet we are still saying, oh no, no, this couldn't be a thing. And so, because it just goes against the mainstream narrative, the science-based narrative. And that's the one thing about living dinosaurs that gets me, is the timeline, right? I just don't think the timeline is correct. And I don't know what the timeline is, but I just don't think that the timeline is correct. And I know, Juliet reads a lot into things like medieval times, and um, the way that dragons are depicted and things like that. And man, she's got some great information about dragons and dinosaurs, and that feed into this whole timeline around, are we just having the sheep pulled over our eyes? Are we being duped? Are we being duped? And I said to her just before we went live on Instagram the first time, I said, do you think like this information is just kind of hiding from us? Like it's really hard to find this information. And she said, well, actually, I think it's probably being hidden from us. It's being hidden underneath a whole heap of other stuff, so that you have to really search quite hard to find it. But there are some amazing researchers out there that are pulling information together and truly, putting some amazing things together and putting their name and their credentials on the line, essentially. Um, Kelsey says 3 meters in wingspan per wing. Oh, yeah, albatross, right? Yeah, absolutely massive. And it just shows you, if a bird can grow that big, and we know that there's been these giant eagles throughout New Zealand as well, the Haast eagle. And he was huge. There's a giant eagle that was recorded over in like Saudi Arabia or somewhere around that sort of area. That was even bigger than the Haast eagle. And the Haast eagle in New Zealand used to pick up moa, 3 meter tall moa with its talons and take it away. So it's pretty crazy, like, to for us as humans to sit here and say we've discovered it all, there's nothing else here, there simply couldn't be a large anything around, be it a T-Rex, be it a dinosaur, be it a half goat man. It's ridiculous and ignorant of us to sit here and say that, and that's why we just don't, because we love learning the stuff and researching it and bringing it here. Emmy says there's a great account on IG that pulls modern 1800s to 1900s accounts of giants. Are you talking about American giants? I think that's who you're talking about. And he puts up newspapers, newspaper articles of all the giants throughout America. We're actually going to do a collab with him because he's an amazing dude, super, super knowledgeable. And he's been on my list of people to hang out with forever. Yes, Kelsey, you're right. The Haast eagle and the condor, yeah, phenomenal way. So it's crazy, and I mean, I love talking about dinosaurs. I really want to get Juliet back on here. So what I might do is wrap this up now. We've done 40 minutes, so well done us. And I want to hold on to all of the information that she's researched and some of the extra stuff that I've done. And I think what we'll do is we'll wait for the weather to settle down, the internet to settle down, and we will come back maybe next week and do another live and see if we can get that information out to y'all so that we can have another conversation on it, because I don't want to lose her juicy research. It's freaking awesome. Yeah, girl, we're talking about the same guy. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but he's really, really cool. Very, very cool. And we love researching, and this is the first time that we've actually been able to bring research back to the table, and it's so much fun. We're so excited about it, but unfortunately, technology and weather says nope, nope, nope. But just know that we love you all. Cryptid Women's Society members, you are fantastic. We appreciate each and every one of you. We're working so hard at the moment to get back on track and get our membership up and running again, which will be amazing, and bring a whole heap of evidence to the forefront and research to the forefront. Yeah, it's been tough, man. Like it's been an interesting 2 years now we've been on YouTube, by the way. So 2 years. I think Crypto Women's Society has been running for about 2.5, bordering 3 now. And it's been a real journey for Juliet and myself, but also the members that have been on board with us for a long time, and some of the members that have just kind of jumped in recently and have put their hand up and said, I'm getting involved. And the likes of Emmy here, who is just phenomenal at running our Discord and so many other things, putting our premieres up on YouTube and doing all that back end stuff. We just love you to pieces, mate. And yes, don't forget to watch today's premiere. It's on YouTube at the moment. It's running potentially right now, and it's with the amazing animal from the Animal Expedition Files. And that was a crazy, crazy conversation. Freaked me out, man. It was real weird. Anyway, I am Verax. This has been fun and informative. Thank you. Look forward to following your further uploads. Thanks, man. We appreciate it so much. Normally, we're a little bit more togetherness. We miss having Juliet on here. So next time she will be on, and she brings the gems, man. She always blows my mind with the little bits and pieces that she finds. So I'm looking forward to it because, it's crazy town. But we love you all to pieces. Thank you so much for jumping on here today. Big kisses and cuddles to everyone. And we will see you really, really soon. Be safe, stay nice and warm, and keep this community going because, man, it's a good one. It's awesome. All right. Love you all. See you later, team. I don't know how to turn this off, so it's going to take a while. Oh, God. Technical. All right. Bye, everyone. See y'all.